Hello everybody, and welcome to the third video of this tutorial series on tracking multiple objects with OpenCV. The goal of this tutorial is going to be putting the finishing touches on our program. We have all the basic core functionality in place. We're able to track multiple objects, but we haven't quite used our fruit class to its full potential. Right now all we have is an X and Y position. We're just getting the X and the Y position, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding properties such as each fruit's going to have its own HSV min and max value, so that we don't have to scroll those scroll bars left and right. Once we find the values that we like, we can just hard code it in, and it's going to find those fruits with that color automatically. Okay, well, let's get started. We're not going to be learning too much more about OpenCV in this tutorial. Don't get me wrong, we're going to learn a bit, but we're mostly going to be doing programming. And it is actually a really good exercise for you to watch somebody over their shoulder program as they go along, especially in a project like this where I've already gone through all the trouble, the hours and hours and hours of really learning OpenCV very thoroughly, and knowing the ins and outs and where you can go wrong and where you can go right. So just don't feel bad if you feel like you're kind of cheating by watching somebody program. That's how everybody learns. That's how I learned. It's not wrong. Just follow along, and you're gonna get better with more practice. Okay, let's get going. We're going to begin by scrolling down to where we're doing our filtering. So where we're using our HSV min and max values. You can see right here in this in range function. That's when you put in the minimum and maximum HSV values to be filtered in between. Now you can also see here that we have if calibration mode is true. Well, we're going to make it such that we're only going to use the track bars if we're in calibration mode. So we can scroll back up to here and say calibration mode equals false, and those track bars are not going to come up. We're only going to use the track bars so we can find the HSV values and hard code them into our class. So head over to your fruit.h file, and we're going to add in some private variables. We're going to add in some scalars. It's going to be an HSV min and an HSV max. And much like our X and Y positions, we're going to make some getters and setters for our HSV min and HSV max. So for getting the HSV min or HSV max, we're going to have to return a scalar. So this function, much like we had int get ypos, it's going to return an int. We want to actually return the scalar that we have stored. So it's going to be CV scalar, or you don't have to put in CV if you don't want to, but get HSV min and get HSV max. Oops. Oh, we're actually getting some red lines here, and I know why. It's good to get some errors so that we can work through them together. It's because we didn't include our OpenCV, our cv.h header file. And you can see the red lines go away. This would be a good time to bring up that we have our fruit.h file included in our main source file here, and it includes cv.h. So since it includes that, we don't need to include it twice. If we include it twice, it's actually going to increase our compile time. So it's always good to only include our library header files once. So I'm actually going to take this hi-gui.h and put it into fruit.h as well. And we'll use the namespace CV in fruit.h, and it's going to do that for our whole project. So feel free to go down and get rid of this CV scope. You don't need to use that every time. Okay, so let's make our setters. It's always going to be a void function for setters. Set HSV min. And every time you have a setter, you're always going to take the argument of the type of variable that you're setting. So we're taking a scalar. And it's going to set our HSV min and max values. So this would be a good time to head over to our CPP file, and we're going to implement these methods. First off, we'll do our getters. And getters, all they do is just return the variable, remember? If you can't remember the variable name, just use the fruit scope and get it. Found it right here. And always remember to type void first before you use your fruit scope. So remember, in our setters, all we do is just set our variable in our private variable to whatever argument we're passing in. So hit Control-Shift-S and it will save all the files in your project. And we're going to head over to our main source file here and scroll down to the main function. Right to here, where we're saying if calibration mode equals true. Well, let's do the else statement here. So when we switch calibration mode off, and we're going to do our hard coding for our in-range function here. Instead of using our slider bar, we're going to use it from the class itself. So start out by copying and pasting all this in here, and we might not use it all, but we're going to do very similar things. We can actually delete this IM show line here. We don't need that for now. We can add it again later. And so we're going to start actually using our fruit class to its full potential now. This is where things start getting pretty cool. We're gonna add 3 fruits: a banana, an apple, a cherry. And then we're going to search for those 3 fruits sequentially. So instead of using our scroll bar values here, we're going to say apple.getHSVmin and apple.getHSVmax. And then we will just copy and paste this 2 more times. Except for here, replace that with banana, banana, and cherry. We're going to be doing this one fruit at a time as I teach you, just to make things a little less complicated for now. So highlight this selection below and hit Control K, then Control C, and it'll comment the selection out for you. So head back up here. We're going to hard code in our apple's minimum and maximum HSV values. So we'll finally use our setters here. And remember, as you can see here in bold, it needs to take in a scalar. So we can just make a copy of a scalar here, and we'll make the minimum 0, 0, 0 for now, just because that's as minimum as you can get. And we'll set the HSV max, do the same thing. Remember to pass in a scalar, because that's what it's asking for. 255, 225, 255, because that's the most max you can get here. And these numbers are just to fill in the blanks here, because what we're going to do is using our calibration mode, it's still set to true. Click compile, and either go grab an apple, or you can print out this sheet of fruits that I've provided for you. And we're going to do our best to filter out the apples here. We've done this many times by now, but we need to make sure that we get a really good filter on this one. Okay, so it looks like it's filtered pretty good. So what we could do, just simply pull up your notepad, shove it over here, and we can just copy down these values. You see the minimum HMin is 30, the SMin is 59, and the VMin is 50. Do your best not to mix these up. You see HMin here, skip down one, SMin, VMin. Don't try not to mix up the min and max. It'll definitely definitely make it wrong. All right, our max values are 79, and then 158, and 171. Okay, so we have our filter values here. So we can just stop this, and so we've used our calibration mode to its full potential here as well. Just copy in our minimum into our minimum here, and our maximum down to the maximum. Okay, and now the moment of truth. After you copy that in, scroll back up here and set calibration mode to false. And no track bars are going to pop up, and it should just automatically get our apples. Let's have a look here. Well, all right, see, it is hard coded in there to automatically look for apples. Okay, exit out of your application because we're not quite finished yet. It's a pretty big accomplishment so far, though, that we're able to hard code in our minimum and maximum HSV values and search for apples as we please. But we're going to take it to the next step in actually displaying on the screen that we've found an apple. So head over to your fruit.h class, and we're going to do what's called overloading the object's constructor. So when we create a fruit object, it could go one or two ways. We could either, what we've done here is we've not passed in any arguments when we create it, but what we could do is actually, I know it seems like kind of redundant, but maybe pass in the word apple as a string and have our name as an argument here. And then we'll use the name that we pass in to set our private member variable type that we made earlier. And now that I've said that we have to set it, of course we're going to have to make some getters and setters for the type now. I'm actually going to show you something new here. Getters and setters are so common, you see, that we don't actually need to implement them in our CPP file. And this is really the only case where you don't, where you could maybe skip that step. All other types of member functions that you make for your class, you should never just put it in the H file. You got to put it in the CPP file too for organizational purposes. So in our get type, we can just say right away, we can just say return type. And we can set up our getters and setters that way. Okay, so we've made our new fruit constructor. So let's go to Fruit CPP and implement this. And now we can do a bit of decision making. Once we have a name that we've put in, we can actually set a whole bunch of different things just from each name that we've passed in. So we can say if name equals apple, then we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff custom just for an apple. And that being said, we can actually just, I don't know, copy and paste these set HSV min and max calls here. Just erase this apple here. And get out of the brackets here, and we'll set the type up here to whatever name gets passed in. I'm afraid we've got one final member variable that we're going to add with some getters and setters as well. That's the last one, I promise. So when you want to display text on the screen, you have to choose a color that you're going to display it in, and it really adds to the effect if we were to maybe put the apples text in green, the cherries in red, and the bananas in yellow to really visually confirm what you found. The way in computer programming that you define colors is actually in RGB values as well. So we can use those three values as a scalar. So head up here and quickly make our getters and setters. So it's going to be scalar get color. Sorry, I'm Canadian, so I spell color with a U. I don't know about you. And head back into our constructor in the CPP file, and we're going to set the color. Remember, we got to pass in a scalar. And if you want to put in any kind of color that you like, all you have to do is just maybe just Google an RGB value, or maybe I know that if you just type in RGB green, it'll come up. See, that's rapidtables.com. If you just click on any kind of color that you want, let's go for a dark green here. So you see it's 0, 153, and 0. In OpenCV, the order that it goes in is BGR. So I saw that it was 0, 153, 0. So that's the color that we're going to set it to. So where we're going to implement this new stuff is in our main source file. Go to the draw object function, and we're going to add in something new here. We're going to add in a put text. It's going to go on the frame, and then the string of text that we're going to put in is let's just see. Yeah, in our vector, the fruits dot at the index dot get type, and you can see already how, look how many times this function gets called. It gets called through a whole vector, so we don't have to type in anything. We can just get the type of whatever fruit comes up. And then the next argument it's asking for is the point in which to draw it. And I know that we've put text somewhere around the fruit already, so head to here, copy and paste this point in. We're gonna change it a little bit. This one is 20 pixels below where the object is, and just for reference, if you go plus 20, it actually means you're going downwards in the y direction. So let's go upwards. Let's go upwards 30 by saying negative 30. Okay. So the next argument is going to be the font face, and you could just put 1. Font scale, let's put 2. Let's type it a little bigger. And now we get to our color. And now, for each individual fruit, we're able to set its own color. So all we have to do is type in the fruits dot at its index and get color. And I believe that's the last argument. I'm just realizing now that we've missed a little bit of a step here. There's a bit of a gap in the information transfer here. Go back down to where we make these temporary fruits. We can see that we use the information to get the HSV min and max, but what we haven't done is passed it into the draw function and actually set that to have those colors that we've set. You'll see in a second. So put the apple into this function, and what we can do is we can overload this function, and what that means is that we can have 2 of the exact same function. Just minimize it and then copy it and paste it, and all we have to do is change this to also take in a fruit. And where we're going to use that is, if you scroll down here, we create a temp object here. So let's just say apple dot set type is the fruit dot get type. It's pretty funny, hey? And apple dot set color, and that should work out just fine. Now if we're to click compile here, it's pretty dark color green, but you can see that we got it's showing apple above here. Let's actually go into our class, and we're going to make that a little brighter. Go into the Fruit CPP. set the color to just have 255 on green, so a lot of green. Alright, that's a lot brighter and better. Okay, cool. Okay, so now, as promised, we're going to find all the fruits on the camera feed here. So we've copied and pasted this 3 times. Just highlight the selection again, hit Control K, then Control U, and that'll uncomment the selection. And if you remember correctly, we actually added in a new argument to this track object function. We overloaded it, so make sure you add those in for the banana and cherry. And another thing is that we need to go back into our Fruit.cpp, and we also need to create these circumstances in which we change the HSV value for the banana and the cherry. So I'm going to leave that as an exercise for you to find your HSV min and max value for both the banana and the cherry. Okay, head back into the main source file and make sure that we add in these arguments to our temporary fruits here, so that they match up exactly as in our overloaded constructor. Then we can use our trusty calibration mode, set it back to true, and find your banana and cherry values, and then put them into your constructor here. And also to set the color for the text. I know that for yellow the value should be 0, 255, 255. That'll bring up some yellow text. And for red is 0, 0, 255. Make sure you set those. It looks a lot better when you do it that way. Oh, and before I forget, I remember testing this out and seeing that the cherries, if you go back to the main source file and scroll up to the top, and I have some global variables here. We have this min object area. You might want to make it a little bit smaller so that the cherries, since they're so much smaller than the other fruits, so that they get found too. Just set it to 20 by 20 pixels, and that should be fine. Okay, I hope you didn't have too hard of a time finding the HSV values for the other fruits. And you click compile, and you should see all the fruits being tracked. And don't worry about if you had maybe a couple compilation errors that you can't figure out how to fix. Don't worry about it. I have the source file below. You can go ahead and download it if you want right now. Congratulations for making it this far. I hope you had some fun learning more about OpenCV and C++ object-oriented programming. I'd like to preview on a couple more things to come. I'm going to be releasing some more tutorials on object tracking without colors. So the next video tutorial series is we're gonna go over frame differencing using sequential images, and that is, I'd say, about on the same difficulty level as the tutorial that we just had. And then we're going to get into more advanced topics such as speeded up robust features, or the SURF algorithm, which is really common in a lot of popular applications that are out right now. Then we're going to move on to face detection using HAR classifiers, and that is the same kind of technology that's used on digital cameras, and I think even Facebook uses it now. So we've got some pretty exciting stuff to come. I hope you subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching.